Hey, what's up guys? How's it going? It's Dakanoth Fisherman here, and today we are going to talk about getting your first hero if you're deciding to go down the pay-to-play route. So, on the heroes list, alright, there are several heroes to pick from. Anyone have any guesses? Well, stay tuned and I'll tell you exactly which heroes I think you ought to get. So, if you're trying to pick a hero, and I'm saying, like, in general, if you're looking for a hero that's not going to be complete crap, it really boils down into one or two things. Which, if you're going for an army attack based hero, somebody that's going to do you overall well, Lore Weavers are a really good pick. Now, I think a lot of people when they're starting out, especially if this is the first hero they're ever going to get, okay, they'll notice that although they're getting HP benefits from this hero when they max it, it doesn't do them any good at all at low grade. So you have to be committed to the full price of this hero from beginning to end to really reap its benefits. And having that said, okay, in Colosseum, Lore Weaver is fantastic. Using her as an army attack hero, fantastic. But now if we're looking at it like, well, what other heroes do I have access to? What other choices do I have? Well, I think a lot of people acknowledge the fact that, you know, if you were to have grabbed Witchdoll, for example, again, another very decent Colosseum hero, right? But the one major difference is that administratively, this hero is fan-freaking-tastic. Alright? So, I would say in comparison to, like, Lore Weaver and Witchdoll, I think for someone that was just picking their first hero out, okay, if you wanted, like, a huge administrative bonus, this is pretty much the first hero I think most people ought to bother getting for that reason. But, obviously, you know, if you're already 3/4 of the way to a point where maybe you already have tier 4, maybe you've already got tier 3, and maybe you don't really want to bother building up, you know, having higher research times and having better construction speeds and training speeds, then that's where a lot of people will jump on board with getting Lore Weaver for this reason, because then they can use her skills in war. And this is really, really valuable. So ultimately, I kind of leave it to you to decide exactly which hero you would pick, at least in that regard. Now, when we're talking just heroes in general, I mean, nowadays, people even are probably going to start grabbing Snail Princess, which you wouldn't think that a hero that came out not too long ago would be up on this list. But the reason I bring up this hero is that there are going to be heroes like her. And I don't doubt it, because something about this particular hero is interesting in that, you know, it's max Galatian army size. I mean, down the road, I can only expect that there will probably be more. But because she's one of a kind, and that, well, frankly, there's no other hero in the game that's giving you an army Galatian bonus, the only other way to get that is going to have to be coming through the Sigil research, Wonder research, whatever the heck it was called. But it uses Sigil. Blah blah blah. Here I'm talking like I must know what I'm talking about, right? Well, I'm talking about this, okay, which you can get up to 500k, but here's the kicker: it is gonna cost you tons. That's what I was looking for. The name of the thing. Anyway, having that said, right? If you're just starting out, you probably have a couple of thoughts, like, well, what about Big Guy? I think a lot of people who pick up Big Guy pick him up initially for a hero that is a tank. And he's not a bad tank, right? But I think for most reasonable people that have played this game for a long time would know that the only thing that was really nice about getting Big Guy early on is actually the gear that comes along with him. So it's not really the hero that I think most people buy into him for, but it's actually the, you know, it's the other benefits that most people don't really talk about. Like, to begin with, there is this Sacred Broadsword, which gives you, like, 10% construction speed. And then there's an accessory called the Sacred Badge, which gives you an XP boost, a production boost, you know. So that's kind of like the selling point, really, for this particular hero, which is Big Guy. And I don't really think, in my opinion anyway, that I think most people can probably live without him. And I say that because although he's a really decent tank, he's one of the best tanks in the game, right? But if you're somebody that doesn't have like a ton of money just lying around and you don't want to like chuck $600 or $800 into this game and be like $1,000 in debt, and you want to play smart, then I honestly think you ought to pick between Lore Weaver and Witchdoll. And if at some point it comes across to you that you feel like you need a better tank, then you can always swap out for something like Death Knight or Soulforger. I mean, those two are pretty decent as it is, but even then, I mean, you could work on a Watcher and you would get yourself your army HP and attack bonuses and stuff. And most of that can be done free to play. But, you know, again, when it comes to the price of heroes and such, that is another discussion to be had altogether. Because part of the reason why a lot of people grab these different heroes that you see here on the list, like Ethereal Guide, for example, is an army and range. Master Cook is all, you know, it's you see a pattern that develops with these heroes, and you'll notice that, you know, she's an oddball right now because she's got familiar training XP, range attack, and coalition army size. But, you know, looking at like other heroes like Barbarian is a really great cav hero, Centaur is a cav hero and a research hero, Femme Fatale, an infantry and research hero, purely cavalry, production administration boosts, research and army, training and army, research and training and army, research and range. You see how there's like this pattern that develops with these pay-to-play heroes, and there's a reason for it, obviously, but I point this out because it's kind of like, how exactly do you decide, you know, where you are in your journey in the game? At what point does it become logical to get, like, say, Songstress of the Sea? Well, you know, it really, I think you'll make that decision, right, when the day arrives that you've kind of come to a point where now, for you, it makes more sense to have the army boosts, which is Berserker and Lore Weaver and Songstress of the Sea, because, again, they're Cav, Inf, and Range, right? They all complement each other. And then you could start getting, you know, Stormfox if you want to for that training boost. You can get, you know, what's her Chucket? Dream Witch, who, mind you definitely want to buy packs of her at 5 a pop because her medals are ridiculously expensive. And you can also grab Dark Follower for the training boost. I go for training boost heroes because it's just, I think it's smart to get training boost heroes for that reason, but otherwise, I mean, when it comes to picking out heroes and actually being logical about it, right now, I think the 3 heroes that are kind of fundamental to the game is Lore Weaver, and then Witchdoll, and now I think Snail Princess, because Snail Princess has kind of set this new precedent now for Wonder, like, in general, I would say a lot of people, especially rally leads or want to be rally leads, are going to want to grab her, but you know, again, it's all about what exactly are your priorities in the game. Do you want to be good in Colosseum? Then you'll probably want to get Grove Guardian and Witchdoll and Lore Weaver. And, you know, and Petite Devil's a big one on that list of heroes that are really, really decent in the Colosseum. But really, like, where like a lot of these heroes shine, you know, I think it just depends on your priorities. But ultimately, that's how you decide, in my opinion, on what kind of heroes to grab and why. I hope this kind of gives you some insight as to kind of how I went about picking my heroes. Truth be told, I actually initially started out picking out my heroes by getting Witchdoll. Now, I never did max her, and that's because at some point I went from, you know, well, okay, administratively, I've already taken care of most of the important aspects of my gear, and I didn't really feel like it was necessary to have, you know, 25% into any of these stats at the time. I would say if I still had the energy and the efficiency, I would probably go back and finish here just for this reason, because the benefits of that hero is really decent. It's right up there with Lore Weaver. Like, it not having her at gold, it still stings to this day. And having that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.